Welcome to Tracking the Wolves. I'm Zach Flackus, Associate Director of Athletics at Northern State University, and today we are joined by Kevin Bjerke, our head cross-country and track coach. Coach, how are we doing today?
Not bad.
You've been at Northern now for several years, and this, I believe, is your second year as our head coach for both cross-country and track and field. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the program and where you feel it's at after 2 years?
Sure. I think the biggest need was really kind of building up the roster, which has been kind of a priority the last couple of years, and definitely accomplished that. This year we have a really big freshman class that joined us and is really going to add some depth for this year, especially considering we graduated 16 seniors last year. So pretty big senior class last year, a lot of talent in that class, and ended up getting a lot of talent coming in this freshman class. So it's a good start. Having the bodies there is a great start, and now it's just developing them and seeing where they fit in which events they'll be strongest in, and getting them ready for competition.
Track and field especially, I know we're in the cross-country season, we'll talk about that in a minute, but recruiting for track and field, there's just so many different sports and so many things are specialized anymore. Is that a real difficult recruiting tool, especially when we all know you don't have a ton of money for recruiting to get in these athletes, but you've got to get sprinters, hurdlers, throwers, distance runners. How do you do that in recruiting?
It's easy and hard at the same time. The nice thing about the internet now is you can get results from every state online, see state meet results easily, get performance lists online, and really be able to target what event areas are in those states and where you can really get after certain spots. And it's interesting to see how some states are stronger in some events than other events. So if we have a need in particular somewhere, you know kind of where to look, and it's all out there, but it's all out there for all coaches. So
Sure.
they get a lot of interest from all over. So it's about really making a personal connection with the ones that you're going after, and trying to get them on campus and see what really we have to offer here.
Your recruiting net seems to be quite a bit wider maybe than we've had in recent years. Is that just you're going further to find better quality athletes?
We've been branching out a little bit, targeting a little bit bigger region than we have in the past, really diving into the Minneapolis area, a lot of good kids in Minnesota, but even getting as far south as Nebraska and Iowa, and we have a gal from Nebraska on the team, a couple from Washington, California, a few Arizona kids, which isn't all that typical for our program to have several from out of the 3-state region. So it's kind of nice to branch out and look for those areas that we haven't had in before.
Well, and on each team, it seems like there's always some impact athletes. Sometimes they're impact athletes because their performance really stands out, and sometimes they're impact athletes because they're a real leader and they seem to hold your team together. Why don't you go over your team a little bit for us and tell us where you've maybe got some impact athletes in either ability or in their leadership?
Well, for the cross-country team, we've got a great group of women that came in. We've got 5 really solid freshmen that are really filling the role really well. Whitney Kuiper is kind of the vocal leader on the team, and just leader by example. She's a junior for us that has really been consistent the last couple of years in running well in both races and workouts. So sets a great example for the women in particular. On the men's side, we've got a very good group of upperclassmen that have been kind of showing the guys the ropes. A lot of inexperienced young freshmen on the team that they're kind of herding around and showing them how cross country really works and how hard you have to get after it on some of those longer distance days. So.
Well, and cross country is such a grueling sport. It's kind of a short season to where it seems like you guys do a lot of training. There aren't really that many meets on the year. I mean, I know we're already 2/3, 3/4 of the way done with our season, so it's really condensed, but they really train year round, and so it is kind of a grueling sport, especially in the training aspect.
Yeah, you got to put a lot into it for a few moments to shine, basically. And we only have, like you said, about 5 meets a year, and we really only key off of 2 or 3 of them and really focus on those.
Sure.
So it's really about preparing for the meets and putting in the training, which can, it's good and bad. You really have to be focused on the kind of the product, which you only get a chance to see a couple times during the season.
Why don't you break down the first couple meets that you had? I know you went up to Moorhead for the Randy Smith, and then you went to the Twin Cities for the Roy Gryak. Tell us about those meets and how you felt your teams did.
Yeah, the Randy Smith meet in Moorhead was a good starter meet, kind of a low-key meet, 6-7 teams, which was, but we had several conference schools there, so we got a good indicator of where we fit in the conference, and really it was a great meet for us to start out at, pretty flat and kind of a fast course, which was kind of a nice intro meet. In contrast, Gryak is enormous, very hilly, very challenging course. You see a ton of competition, not only from our conference, but from really all over the nation. There's teams flying in from everywhere. You get to watch some big D1 races as well. They're separate from the Division II races, but still get a chance to kind of see, you know, those upper level teams as well. And really, considering all the competition and everything, we ran pretty well. We finished in the top half on the women's side, which we've never done before at the Gryak meet. And that's with a lot of freshmen on the team. So I'm really excited about where those ladies are going. And the men, you know, we're a little thin this year with all the inexperienced freshmen kind of getting to know cross country a little bit. But despite that, we actually ran pretty well.
You know, and then I know you've got just one more meet coming up, I think, up in Jamestown before you go to the conference meet. What are your expectations, or how do you set up your team for this invite up in Jamestown?
Well, it's another kind of low-key meet, similar to Moorhead was our first meet. And so it'll be, you know, really about trying to feed off of each other, kind of packing it up, using each other to get through the race. And Moorhead in particular will be the team we're kind of watching. They're very deep and competitive on the men's side. So it'll be, you know, really about trying to see how many Moorhead guys we can get after. And then on the women's side, we match up almost perfectly with Moorhead. Very similar teams. They beat us at their invite by 3 points only, so it'll be really about, you know, trying to get some revenge and get after them on this coming up weekend.
I like that competitive nature where you can single out a team and say, okay, here's who we've got to beat. Let's get after them. Let's strategize, and if we beat Moorhead, we know where we're at and where we're going to finish.
Exactly.
That's good. That's that competitive nature, that killer instinct that you like to see out of guys. You know, and then we have the NSIC Championships are down in Sioux Falls this year. Are you familiar with the course that they'll run down there?
Yeah, we ran down there as a team several years ago. I think it was like 4 years ago now. Very flat course. You know, not much you have to really know about it other than it's going to be very flat and very fast. It's just on soccer fields for the majority of the race. So pretty wide open. You know, the wind can play a factor, but as far as hills goes, you know, we know what we're getting, a pancake. So,
and is that similar? I mean, will you single out a couple teams that you're going to say, okay, in order for us to be successful, let's stay with this group, let's get after this group, or how do you approach the conference championship?
Yeah, very similar to what we've been doing. You know, we single out Moorhead on the women's side this coming up week, and we'll probably be doing that again. We'll have a good idea going into that meet what teams are, you know, right around us, and we'll really try to focus on those jerseys when you're getting halfway through the race. If you see someone from, you know, Moorhead, for example, that's in front of you, you know you got to get ahead of them by the end of the meet because that's going to be huge for team points. So we'll single out probably those 2 or 3 teams on the men's and women's side and really, you know, focus on going after those jerseys. Well,
and here again this year we've got, you know, a couple of the top teams in the country in cross country that are in our conference. I know Augustana is an outstanding team again. You know, where does our conference stack up nationally as far as, you know, our NSIC Championships? If someone can place in that, do a good performance, is that equivalent to competing well on the national level?
Yeah, I think it's going to consistently always be that way now in the NSIC. We've just gotten so competitive. And on the men's side, University of Sioux Falls just snuck into the top 25 in the nation. Augustana's been there all year. On the women's side, there's 2 or 3 teams right now ranked in the top 25 in the nation. And so you always know that top third of the NSIC is going to be national caliber teams. And, you know, it makes our conference pretty exciting to compete at and see that level of competition.
Well, and it seems like it's that way in all sports. It's not just cross country or football or basketball. It's volleyball. You know, it's pretty much top to bottom in our conference anymore. If you can compete in our conference, you can compete at the national level.
Exactly.
So, Coach, with that, I'm going to let you get back to work. This has been Tracking the Wolves. I'm Zach Flackus, and this has been Coach Kevin Bjerke.